Hi, and welcome once again to What's the Damage, companion show to the incredibly well-known and popular real play D&D show Roll for Damage. No clever quip today. I could not think of anything, and I wrote this last minute. The Shields of Twilight were once again having a very weird one on Friday. Oriana started the stream off dead, but was quickly revived by Quinn, who used his most precious possession, that magic water stuff, to bring her back. She also may have sworn herself to Asmodeus while she was hanging out being dead. Maybe, kind of. We don't know. We'll worry about it later. So with Ori back on her feet, the shields headed up a treacherous mountain in search of a precious ore. Then Perry got murdered by a big flying monster thing, interrupting what had been a very pleasant hike. Luckily, her death did not stick. These kids are just dropping like flies, aren't they? Good thing magic's real. As always, stick around after the stream for links and resources. I'm your host, Truth Venson, and this is What's the Damage? Hey, welcome back. Joining me today, we have two of our favorite players. They're all our favorite players. We have Chad, who plays Quinn, and we have Caleel, who plays Baltaim. How are you guys
Yo.
doing today, this evening, this
Oh,
lovely Tuesday?
swell.
We're also, again, because everyone else is dying, we're also the two that have not died in the party yet.
It's true.
Yeah,
We're the holdouts.
we're waiting. So you guys resurrected Oriana, then had a lovely little hike that definitely was not dramatic in any way.
No,
What's the damage, guys?
I mean, I don't like things. That's it. I just don't like things.
Yep. Things that
Chad says
fly.
bad.
Things are bad, and then things that fly are also really bad. So
Things that fly are worst.
Yeah.
Because then you got this big old monster of a damage dealing beast on the ground. Just like, hey, come down here. Like, come on, guys.
Awesome. Okay, reviews are in. Flying things, negative.
Yeah, it's -10 out of 10. Would not recommend.
No.
Those manticores got a scathing Yelp review.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Too much water.
The whole mountain, just 1 star. My friend died here.
That's exactly what it says. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're gonna backtrack a little bit to the first half of the episode when you guys had Oriana resurrected.
Mhm.
Very fun. So Quinn, first off, why were you being so gosh darn hecking shady about reviving Oriana? I was watching it live and I was like, is he going to rob her body? What's going on?
Yeah, I was just gonna steal all her stuff and leave her corpse. That was my original plan. I was like, dang it, I guess I better just bring her back to life. Fine. But no, the whole thing was, I mean, Quinn just kind of in the moment figured out the thing that he needed to do, but didn't want to make a big production out of it. and kind of just didn't want people to know right off. So he just wanted to, you know, do what he needed to do and be done with it, essentially.
Got it. Did anyone ever tell Quinn that being secretive is a good way to get people curious about what you're doing?
No one mentioned that. Because
Live and
Campion was
learn.
like all up in his business the whole
Yeah.
time. Like, hey, what are
Yeah.
you doing? What are you doing? Tell me everything. Like,
And
I
Campion's
don't
like the
want
most
to.
curious of your party too, so that's kind of a weird person to be so shady in front of.
Yeah.
Love it though. So something I was a little bit unclear on, I may have just missed it, but are the other characters aware that Quinn used his drop of water?
Probably. I mean, context clues being what they were, most likely yes.
Yeah, I was going off of my response of that. Baltine, he didn't ask him specifically, but he just like kind of like 2 and 2, like we know Quinn doesn't have this type of magic, and like
Yet.
and like, but just the way that Quinn was acting, just was like 2 and 2. Baltine wasn't like bring it up or anything. It was like, you know, that's your decision. That you know, when he said back to Dobby, he's like, I respect your decision no matter what, but it's like you had the power to do this with what you have. So it's like he just kind of put 2 and 2 and was like, I guess he decided, and that's fine with me if that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, because as we all know, 2 + 2 equals magic life water. That's math.
I need to check the numbers on that one.
No,
Yeah,
don't.
you got a calculator
just believe me.
handy,
It's fine.
little abacus.
Yeah.
Okay, so Baltaim has a good idea. Yeah, because like I was wondering what with Quinn being sort of secretive about actually doing it, if he wasn't going to pretend that this was not the water and was in fact some kind of other miracle.
I mean, had nobody noticed, he probably wouldn't have said anything about it. And just, you know, it would have just been done, and then
You're like,
he would have.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, also, I think Perry saw him, right? Like, because her pass was so high.
She sees literally everything, so I wouldn't be surprised.
But she also just hasn't said anything about it yet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So.
You know. Yeah, so on that topic, why the change of heart? Since it hasn't actually been that long since Quinn declined to use the water on Dobby, and it was a whole thing. So what's happened really a lot has happened obviously, but what specifically has happened in the intervening 2 and a bit weeks?
I mean, basically, the whole reason behind it was all just coming out of the encounter with the super goth edgelord prince with the bident, that guy who basically said Tharizdun is using Dobby's soul as like a chew toy / snack. And Quinn just sort of, since he could have done that before and did still feel some sort of responsibility for it previously, now that he knows that is what occurred, because, you know, he didn't know for certain what was going to happen to Dobby one way or the other with the whole like being marked. What does that even mean? None of us actually know the entirety of it yet, but now he knows that is the stake there. It becomes, if he does not do everything he can in the moment to stop that from happening, then he does it with full knowledge of the fact that not bringing someone back to life, if he can, means that is what's going to happen to them. So since this was his best chance in the moment to do what he needed to do and fix what needed to be fixed, he just took it. Because he couldn't, I don't think he could have lived with the knowledge that, well, you decided to not do that again, and now this person is going to be tortured forever. And not only that, but he was recently admonished by his own god for hoarding that stuff and not for, you know, holding on to it so selfishly and not using it if he needed to use it. And, you know, it's a lot of things just added up to this is the thing that he needs to do.
Got you. Okay, well, Oriana's alive again. We're all very relieved. So
we're fine with it.
Okay, we're all neutral to positive.
Yeah.
Yes, neutral positive.
We're all neutral positive.
It's a new alignment. Neutral positive.
Yeah.
You're just kind of cheerful, but you don't care. Yeah. Okay. So with Oriana up and Adam again, it was revealed that she may have taken Baltaim's advice when it came to Asmodeus. So how did both your characters like react internally, like hearing her say that she had accepted the Lord of the Nine Hells possibly as her personal savior?
I don't know if we heard it that. Did we hear that in character?
She told
I can't
everyone,
remember.
wasn't
did
she?
she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
I
think you're right.
I don't
Oh, was it only Perry?
Yeah.
I think
I
it
thought
was
they were
only
in a
Perry.
group.
I think it was in
No,
their room.
they were by
Yeah.
Okay,
themselves.
never mind
Okay.
It was
then.
nothing but girl
yeah,
talk.
yeah. Because I was like, I think I would have had a response to that. But no, yeah, I don't think I don't think our characters were there for that.
Oh, that's gonna be a reveal. How would your
Yeah.
characters react?
I mean, there is
Baltimore
already
doesn't
some
really
evidence.
know much. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't really know much about some of these like gods and stuff. Like he knows about his god,
Mm-hmm.
Vondra, and he knows about. Well, he doesn't even know that much about his pact, pact god. So he's trying to learn more about that. So I mean, if it's helping you, cool. Like if it's gonna help you do what you need to do, like I'm fine with that as long as it's not hurting you or it's not hurting, people that are dearest to you, whatever.
All is neutral positive.
Neutral positive.
Yes. That is his alignment. I mean, there's already some clues, like the fact that, oh look, Oriana's eyes caught fire when she used magic. That's a new thing. So that's probably going to come up in conversation at some point where we're not dealing with, oh, someone died again. Let's not let that happen another time. But I mean, Quinn will have an opinion about it whenever there is information to actually form an opinion on, because the whole idea of Bane being god of tyranny and whatnot or whatever is not actually the proper description of him. So Asmodeus being supposedly the most evil deal maker in all the universe, like the worst lawyer or some such, that might not even be the truth about him either. So
yeah, the best and worst lawyer.
Best and worst at the same time. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I do decree. This man is not guilty.
But yeah, he doesn't have enough information to go off of because he already sort of prejudged one deity, so he's just not going to bother with doing that again. He's going to wait for more information. Be like, so you catch fire now and you do magic. Is everything fine there, or do we need to call a doctor? Otherwise, okay, fine.
Yeah, I think Quinn is probably the most interesting point of view I would like to see come discussed, because he's currently in the midst of something like this, right? He's has Bane on one hand. Sorry, I'm thinking Bane on one hand and then Melora on the other hand, on the same, based on the same shoulder, guiding him. And so it's he probably, what he knows of what this god is. It seemed like when he was in his dream sequence, we don't know, but characters don't know. But he's like, well, just because that is one version of me doesn't mean that is the same all facets of me. There's levels to this, So it's you can be one thing but also be another thing. So it doesn't have to be this is good, inherently good or inherently evil. There's some goodness in some of it and some badness in some of it, and that's for all things. Melora is a goddess of nature. There's lots of death and killing in nature by itself in general. So that's not that just happens. It's part of nature. It's a cycle. Things die and then things become born after they die. So it's that's the kind of, I want to see that talk down with them too. That I think that would be interesting, seeing how they are seemingly going in the same boat at this point of time in their lives right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a conversation that's going to be had at some point, just
right.
Because a lot of things are just based on point of view. Is one thing that he's figured out is, Bane supposedly was evil from some point of view. Asmodeus is, according to I don't know, I guess any book evil from the point of view of the author, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily translate to the actual truth. So it then depends on what does this mean? You know, like what is true about this particular deity and the relationship that is being formed with Oriana and all that. So that's kind of why Quinn's just reserving judgment on the whole thing until he actually knows what the deal is, because right now he knows what he knows just as a person who grew up in the world and heard just the general stories about everything.
Right.
But because he's come to question literally everything about that, he has no opinion because he doesn't want to base it off of most likely inaccurate information.
And there are a lot of interesting narrative threads sort of connecting all of you guys.
Mm-hmm. It's like a murder board with all the red yarn and Charlie Day.
Yeah. Yeah, except all the thread is like having multiple gods that you're kind of in like a throuple with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so all of that happened with Oriana, and then you guys didn't get much time to process it because you sort of immediately headed up into the mountains for what was supposed to be a simple amateur mining trip. However,
do we ever make anything something so simple?
Nope.
Do we ever make something so simple?
I mean, there was the flump that was supposed to be simple until someone blew it up with thunder.
I don't recall that.
I recall it very clearly, and I have not gotten a chance to speak.
I live on a week-to-week basis.
Murdered a flump.
I remember things on a week-to-week basis, so after a week, it's just gone.
You just lack object permanence when it comes to D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, the files get purged once a week.
Clear the history.
Get rid of the cookies.
Delete all the cookies.
Clear brain cache.
Yep. Just goes.
Man, I wish.
Once a week, Caleel just reformats Baltaim's brain.
Yep.
That explains a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
So much about Baltaim. Like
it does, doesn't it?
Like he's oh my god, it's like he's the guy from Memento. Like his short-term memory just is purged.
Yep.
Like, oh wait, I remember the last time I did this. Somebody died. Oh wait, no, I don't remember that at all.
Whatever, do it again. Can't happen twice, right?
But it ticks over midnight from Sunday to Monday, and like it's just gone.
Just gone.
Memory reset every long rest.
Amazing. That's why I firmly believe about Baltaim now. That's my personal headcanon.
I support this. I also believe this now.
I'm in agreement.
Canon, folks, you heard it here first.
Yep.
Baltaim has canonically the memory of a goldfish.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so
much.
So as you guys were going to the mountain, wait, was this the same mountain you went hunting on, or was this a different mountain?
Yeah, it's the same mountain.
It's part of the same mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, the mountain's huge.
Yeah.
How do you guys kind of feel like just heading off on this next little side quest? Like, were you confident, like after having survived the terrible worm thing, going to an environment that you've been before? Were you still like reeling from Oriana's death and resurrection? What was happening there?
I was confident, I was like, in the back of my mind, I was like, there's gonna be some stuff like we've already been told in game, like, oh, there might be troubles figuring, like, trying to mine this thing, not only like finding it, but like there might be things, out there in general.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we'll probably like face some things, fight some more things native to this land, like because Serenity likes to like show like there's different like fauna and like things that are like part of this world and like part of an area, even though it's like some of it can be like natural, like that are naturally things you see in like jungles and stuff, but some of them are like just like rare thing that lives here also as well. And so I was like, yeah, we'll probably face something like maybe one or two things that like maybe aren't common in the mountains that like, and then like, this is something that also lives here or like roams here. And I was like, but we won't like die to any of these things. We're probably like getting a few fights, and I was like, we won't die to any of these things though. But things.
And then
things happen. Things happen.
Yeah, things happen.
Things do happen. Yeah, no, I kind of was confident going in, like, oh, yeah, we've been here before. We know a lot of what's up here. Obviously not everything, because, you know, it's a huge mountain range. So there's no way to know everything unless you go everywhere. But, you know, I didn't really expect over much. And then the words serrated grin were said by the DM, and like, this will not end well. Nothing that begins with the description of serrated grin is ever going to turn out in a positive light for anyone except the thing with the serrated grin.
Hey, you know what? You could describe like a puppy yawning as serrated. They got sharp little teeth.
I mean, that
doesn't sound.
They got sharp little fangs.
Nah.
Little fangies.
I mean, a case could be made for that, yes, but
still sounds evil to me.
It does. It sounds super evil. And if I described this annoying pug that's off camera as having a serrated grin or mouth or anything, I do believe Laura would get quite upset.
Hey. Okay, so yeah, obviously mountain, not as much as a cakewalk as you would perhaps hope. I feel like Serenity's just kind of playing whack-a-mole with you guys at this point. Like, you're just going up and down and up and down. Is that stressful? Like,
yes.
In character, out of character, both?
But now you know why Baltimore has short-term memory loss.
He just goes to the trauma.
He's getting hit, man. He just goes down and up. He's like, what happened? Huh? Oh, this is Jots. It's gone.
It's like that god awful Joss Whedon show Dollhouse. Did I fall asleep? It's like every single time.
No, I think I mean, it's stressful in the moment, right? I guess like it's just like anything stressful in the moment because you're like on camera and stuff. But I mean, I don't know. It's fun. I mean, it's like the D&D. Like that's what happens. Like you are bound to be going up and down at certain points, especially in combat. You know, it's a lot of things going on, and if you're fighting flying manticores, it kind of you get hit sometimes. You get hit hard, but
Yeah, that is true. Sometimes you do get hit hard by a bunch of manticores. Boo.
It happen.
Yeah, it do. For me, it's kind of it does get a little stressful, only because I don't know if anyone has ever actually watched the face of my wife while the game is going, because a poker face is one thing she will never be accused of having, but whenever she has strong emotional responses to stuff, I also have to have emotional responses to stuff, because then her emotional response whenever the cameras are off is something that I am going to also be processing because I live with her. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that this is a thing because I am locked in a room with someone with whom I'm in a committed relationship. Therefore, this is baggage I must also unpack.
Yeah, I think as like a whole though, like our group as a whole have like we're a lot of like emotional response people. Like wear like emotional sleeves.
Rennie's nodding like.
Yeah. Sereny like yeah. I think probably Tick is probably the best at handling it though. Tick, and then I probably say me. I just get quiet usually. I usually just stay quiet and it's like, ooh, this is bad. But I won't actively say it because I know some of us are kind of like emotional response players. So I was like, I don't want to like, oh, this is bad, we're gonna like die, because then it's like that just puts more stress on top of us. I feel. So it's like try to like, even if I think that in some cases I'm like, oh, we might actually just all TPK here. I won't usually say that because like that's just like, if I tell myself that, then I'm like, well, I'm just like going up against a wall because I know I'm gonna die. I won't like, but like if I think like, oh no, I can do this somehow, like I can just like think my way out of it. It will like help me think of like something to just do something, and then also it won't bring everyone else down. That's my point of view.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. You don't want to put that exact thing into the universe, because
a positive attitude.
The positive attitude is what's kept the TPK away, because he hasn't said, well, we're all going to die here. Because I mean, like, you don't want to put that thing out there into the universe. Like, well, I guess this is where we're all going to die. I'm like, with that attitude, we sure as shit will. Now, shush. But, I prefer the whole idea of nothing is absolutely certain as far as complete death, because one, we don't know what's going to happen with the dice turnout, and two, we also don't know what would happen if literally the entire party died in the middle of a mountain, and whether or not that would mean, well, you're all just rotting corpses on a piece of rock now, or if the DM would basically just have something else happen to us after that of, well, we just brought you back from the dead, you owe us a lot of money.
Right.
Sort of thing, or like,
I mean, call back to our first couple sessions. We all went down, and it was like that was a story element, like plot element.
A plot element was we TPK'd like a bunch of chumps.
Yeah,
we were level clown shoes, and we died just like it.
Yeah,
and then also we wake up somewhere else. Like, hey guys, guess what? Main story of the game.
Yeah, you're fucked. By the way, so here you go.
Yeah, TLDR, y'all fucked.
Fun times. Remember how innocent you were back then?
Yeah.
Like a month ago.
Football team doesn't.
Yeah.
A month ago, that may as well be 1 billion years.
Who are you people?
You expect me to remember the beginning of the universe? Why, that's crazy, sir. I say crazy.
One day, football team just gonna be like, who are you people? Who are you?
You erased too much.
We need to write a note and just pin it to his chest every night that has everybody's names and where we are.
Wouldn't that be an interesting ass character, though, if you had other people who wanted to play with it? One that's memory just resets every day. Like, what's that one movie? Like, 51 First Dates or something? No, the other one.
Oh.
Something First Dates.
Oh, I know about the Notebook.
50 First Dates. That's every day,
50 First Dates, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting.
It would be. Actually. I mean, well, to be fair, there is a guy that that I play with in a home game every Wednesday who I feel like his memory resets every single week, because he doesn't even remember, like, okay, so are we outside? No, we are not. Write shit down sometimes.
I'm not that bad. Luckily enough.
You're not that bad.
But the short-term memory, not the best.
Yeah. I feel it. Cool beans. So let's take like a couple of minutes to just sort of like zoom in a little bit on the final battle. Like, so what was it like for each of your characters individually? Like, just being in the midst of that. Not even necessarily the bit where Perry dies, though definitely that as well. But just sort of how to look on the ground, guys.
I mean, I just on the ground, I was just trying to figure out, like, okay, now how do I hit these things? Let's see, we're outside. Nothing could go wrong here if I just drop lightning on their heads. It should all be fine. And then, like lightning here, cantrip there, spiritual weapon. I wasn't really thinking much about it until things started going south. Oh, Campion looks like he's about to die a bunch. And oh God, Perry's become food. This is a bad time. Then I started having a lot of opinions. But up until then, it was sort of like, this sucks for Cynric, but we can make this work probably.
Yeah, it was for me. It was kind of like I guess a little bit. I was like kind of frustrated. I was kind of like, it happens. It's like your character is never going to be the exact perfect thing for every moment, obviously. But I think Balthane probably felt frustrated. Because the last two big fights, he just kind of been like there, kind of like he's done like some damage with Eldritch Blast, like it's cool and all. But he just kind of been like he's an after effect, and like no one's targeting him. He's not even like. It seems like he's not even like a threat of enough to a lot of things because he's not doing enough damage, right? So I think Balthane's a little bit frustrated with it because he's like he can't get to things unless like he's shooting under blast, but he obviously is clearly much better with his sword and find things face to face. So it was kind of frustrating for him I was just trying to like have him like do things to like make sure that because I knew Campion was a big part of fighting it. So I was trying to make sure Campion stayed up with healing him and trying to get in front of him to like at least try to make it look like, make them hit me first. But he was just doing so much damage. It was like, no, fuck you. I'm going to attack the thing that's killing me. So it was just kind of like, I was trying to do the small things. And then once Perry went went up, I was just like, like Caleel was just like, I fucking can't do anything. Like I can't save you in like any way. I'm like, luckily I missed with my Eldritch Blast. But I was like, I know this is a bad idea, but I literally can't do anything else but shoot like her from 100 feet in the air. Like this is like awful, and I can't do anything. It's like I was like, fuck, like I can't get over there to like run under it and try to shoot it up. So I was like, what can I do?
Yeah, and had she literally been like 20 feet closer, everything would have been fine.
Right.
But she was just outside of range of anything that I could do that was actually helpful until that thing was brought down out of the sky. Yeah.
And so like my point of view was just like, I mean, I can't my player's play style is like, I'd rather have anything that I'd rather have everything be in like my hands than up to like another force. So like if someone dies or if I die, I'd rather like me being able to like, oh, that's why I did this because that's why I died because I did this. Than like, well, you couldn't do anything and then someone, killed you. I'd rather have it like be up to me to like decide on what happens. So like I'd rather have a splat and parry in our hands so we can like, well, we fucked up. Well, what can we do about this? Than like this thing flying off and taking off of her and eating her for like dinner. So it's like like I'd rather just have it be in my control than to not. And that was the only like I was like, this is like that's why I had that thought process of like, well, I just need a shooter, I guess. But luckily it worked out.
Yeah.
I'll work out in the end.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to our topic for today, which is playing against type. So we're going to be talking about like tropes and types and subverting them, clever, non-standard, subversive versions of classic D&D archetypes, essentially. But before we sort of like dive into that, what do we mean when we say playing against type? How would you two define that?
With fart noise. Good one, Will. I would say
I mean, it's kind of hard because like I like it's like kind of like playing like anti meta, like not playing meta, right? Which is like also now weirdly become like a type, right? Like being the anti thing that you're like going against, right? So it's kind of like now it's kind of what does that mean now? Because it's like you can be playing against a type, but like that's also kind of a trope now too. So that's why I think it's like the anti meta of like whatever is like the popular thing than like playing like the opposite of that, or like playing like something that's like reverse of that or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say pretty much the same thing. Is playing against type usually just comes down to if there is a specific thing that is just like the accepted definition of this is what it means to be a paladin. You're basically a holy cop, and then you make something that's completely out of left field and different from that, or something of that nature. That's pretty much what you're looking at. But I mean, it is kind of hard to define because of what you were saying about like the whole reverse meta and anti this is now its own trope and everything. So like it's just this amorphous, weird, wibbly wobbly thing now. So let's try and cut this Gordian knot. All right.
Yeah, and standards for things do change over time, but I think for certain classes and races in D&D, at least, we sort of have an image of an archetypical. Like if you imagine an orc, you're probably not going to imagine them dressed up like a bard, or which is like racist against orcs, but we've discussed this before.
It's true.
Yeah, or if you imagine a paladin, you probably see some guy in like shiny armor and stuff. Yeah, so sort of like going off of what the standard visualization is for these different character archetypes, how archetypical do you think your current characters are in the campaign, or how not archetypical?
I would say I've tried to make Quinn not at all the stereotypical archetypal cleric, because he has absolutely no idea what he's doing. He doesn't understand, at least he didn't when I made him. He didn't understand the whole thing of what it even means to have religion or faith or anything of the kind, and was, and still partially is, a hot-headed jackass. And when you think cleric, these are not qualities that come to mind. So I would say I'm not at all close to home on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's elements of both of them that are definitely like warlock like things that are like standard. But I think I tried very cautiously to like make sure that I'm not just like, oh, that's a warlock, whatever. Because like Baltaim's attitude, his personality, the way he interacts with people is he's very, even though like he doesn't seem it, like he's like upbeat but chill at the same time, you know what I mean? Like he's like not down in the dumps usually. He's not like I'm with this dark like pact of things and like everything's sad. He's like out there doing drugs and like for better or worse, like you know, he's like having fun, like he's trying to like figure things out in the world, and he's not like this, like things. Obviously he has conflict, and that's like every character should have conflict, but he's not like he's not like this sad or like this like warlock like is fighting against his pack. Like he's seemingly he's always like, this is what we want, this is what you want, I'm like, we're good with that. Let's, if that's what you want and you can help me get what I want, we're square. We can we don't have any issues with us. Let's continue to do what we're doing and go along. So there is like, you know, the standard like the pact and like what working with something and like that. But I tried very cautiously to make sure the character is not usually like the stereotypical character that goes along with being a warlock and such. So yeah, I think there's atypical things that about him, but there are some tropes in there, obviously, because you know there's always some tropes in a little bit of everything.
It's true.
Yeah. I think he definitely succeeded, when it comes to Baltaim, though, because he's remarkably unedgy for a warlock.
Right.
And
he's
of course,
really
warlock is the edgiest class.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have that angry teenager in a mall feel to him.
Right. That's why I was trying to like not make it. That's why I was like that. That's the word I was looking for, edgy. Like I couldn't think of it, but like he's not like super like down and depressed. And it's like he's not edgy. He's not trying to be an edgelord. He's just trying to be him, and like that's whatever that entails essentially.
Man, when I think edgelord, I think the exact opposite of Baltaim.
Yeah,
you nailed it on that. You were like, you were the anti-edgelord.
The mysterious figure who greeted you all by the babies.
Yeah,
that would be a very stereotypical warlock.
Yeah, actually, he has the look and the most things going for him. But yeah,
nice. Well, I bet that character's going to turn out to be like a paladin or something, but they do with the warlock look.
I mean, I don't know what they are. I just know that I don't want to be their friend.
Oh, but you will though.
I don't want to. You can't make me.
Awesome. Yeah, so kind of like expanding the idea of like archetypes and stereotypes beyond class to like also race and just other D&D things. When you were designing your characters, did you deliberately kind of write, I think you were saying you did, but did you deliberately write them to sort of subvert expectations, or is that just what happened while you were making a unique character, or was it both?
I mean, with mine, what happened was the story that I used for Quinn, I've mentioned this before, it was basically just something I kind of had kicking around in the back of my head from a novel I'm never writing because no one ever does. And I just basically put it out there for him. And the main reason that he ended up being a cleric was because nobody else made one. And I've played in games with our DM before, and I thought, we're going to need someone who can heal people. So that's just what happened. It's like, well, you're a cleric now. There you go. And so like the rest of it just sort of fell into place.
For mine, I was, it was kind of aligned well, because I think, I don't know if I mentioned this or I said this to any, like even our DM, but I think I wanted to be a tiefling at one point. But I think Oriana had already had her character ready, or Jake had already had his character pretty much like thought out, and he wanted to be a tiefling. And I was just like I didn't want to be like two tieflings. So it's like, even though like it could have been like it would have been different. It could have been like, you know, there's vast differences between our characters. I just didn't want like I just want a diversity of like races.
I mean, we could have all been tieflings, just been oops all
true,
tieflings.
True.
Whole tiefling party.
But I just wanted a different vibe. So I think for my character, like the process of my character started off with his sister. Actually, I thought about his sister's character first, and then I based my character off of that. So in a way, I kind of took that fallen Aasimar and like in lore, they're like bad Aasimar, right? And I guess in a way I subverted because like Baltim's like not like out to kill people and be evil yet. So
yes.
So I kind of just was like, oh, I need to like a reason of why he's fallen Aasimar and more and like what like my sister being Aasimar, it kind of played off of like the yin yang, the two sides of a coin, and just kind of fit narratively into like the character in itself fully anyway.
I'm sorry, when you said bad Aasimar, I just can't help thinking that's a terrible pun. Bad Aasimar.
I'm sure it was on purpose.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to like dig deeper into Baltaim's backstory in the game. I'm so curious.
It's all surface level.
Everything you mentioned just makes me really curious.
No, I'm surface level, guys. I don't have any backstory.
There's no depth there.
I don't have any backstory.
Well, how would you know? You forget.
No. That's why I don't have any backstory.
You can't be told to remember things.
I told Serenity, it's like, you know, I wrote this backstory and I forgot it. So if you could just go ahead and give me one.
Just make something up for me.
I'm going to be two-dimensional. Let's just not add any layers here. I am what I am on the surface. I have no depth.
I'm just like, I want to be a fallen Aasimar warlock. Cool.
Oh, wonderful. Right, so expanding the conversation from just your current characters in this current campaign to all your characters against all cross campaigns, do you generally design characters that like on purpose to subvert the stereotypes or whatever? Do you play more into archetypes usually? Like, how does that balance out? Like, if you think back across everything.
I'm sure there's some that are like characters I have that are you know atypical, and so I'm like I don't usually write or make characters. I usually make characters as like a thought or like like I want to like kind of like a mold of some other character in media, and then like I'll like what class fits this, what would be interesting with this, and then I kind of like put that in that mold into a class. So I don't really think about it like in like that form. I do have like specific classes that I like or characters that are like specifically against the meta of like a character. Like I have a thought for a cleric that like, you know, is about killing things instead of like healing things. So like I have like thoughts about stuff like that, or like a druid that's like basically from a like technology based like clan, and they like are like a technology based clan, and like they don't kind of like based off of like Elder Scrolls lore of like the Green Pact druid, or like it's like a druid or a ranger class, depending on how I see it fit. Just I have stuff like that that are like against the type of like what this would be, stuff like that. But I don't typically think of it in that sense.
As far as all the characters I've made, I don't really try to make anything that actually goes 100% to formula. Like the one time I played a wizard, I basically made a ripoff of Harry Dresden and John Constantine, which are the least wizardly wizards you can think of. Like the one wizard thing I had is he needed all the spells, just all of the spells. But that's like,
I think Constantine's a sorcerer.
I mean, the fact that he just knows every spell for every occasion means that he would have to be a wizard, but that's kind of a different conversation. But, but I mean, like, yeah, I don't ever try to. I might end up doing it by accident. Although I did make a druid once, like, Biff, screw it. He's just crunchy granola hippie druid, because that's fun. And that's the one time where I kind of just did it on purpose. But other than that, no, I don't really mean to do it if I do.
Nice. Okay. So how can DMs, not players, use subverting expectations to make interesting NPCs? Hands on that.
Um, hmm. I think you don't have to do much. I think because it's not too hard because like we all kind of is like we kind of always consume this media, so we all know like there are certain like stereotypes and stuff like that. But like it's not too hard. Like it's literally like if like sometimes it just takes like you're in the middle of a battle and like you like see like you're in an orc raid or something like that and you see one of the orcs cast a spell at you, you're like, oh, you're already in your mind. That's like a flag goes off. You're like, something's like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? You're like, oh, that's something like different, right? So it's like you don't have to do too much. It's just I mean, I guess you just have to know what the tropes are and like you can actively subvert them. Sometimes sometimes tropes are good in fairness. So sometimes you don't want to subvert them because there's some tropes that are rewarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not too hard. It's just a balance of knowing like when to use them and when to, even if you use them, slightly alter it so it's not like the same formula to make it bland. That's kind of my point of view, I think.
Yeah, and you're right because there are some things where it's a trope because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And there are some things that they just stand up. Like. They have existed this long because they're good, but there are other things where, oh look, it's another I don't know, I'm trying to think like the tropiest of tropey things,
like a little gnome shopkeeper or
kind of, yeah, like
yeah.
Oh look, it's another Scottish dwarf, or oh look, it's another
sexual
gnome
demon bard.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's another bard that's dry humping its way across a continent, that sort of thing. But like, there are some things where it's fun to turn them on their ear just because, people are expecting, like, people aren't expecting the orc wizard or the tiefling cleric, or things like that. Oh, or the beholder that has a garden who is just a delightful friend.
Her favorite.
Yeah, I miss him so much. But there are some things where it's like that's a good example. You see a beholder and your expectation is, well, it's a good thing I made my will before walking into this room. But then he's like, hey guys, I'm having problems with my plans. You want to like help me fix these? Maybe have a tea.
Help me with my moss.
Have some scones. Just come in, hang out, be a friend. It's all good. And it's when you get over the initial shock, okay, so we're not going to die. We're not going to die. Oh boy, this is really great. Sort of adds to it,
Yeah. Okay, so going off of something both you mentioned, what's the value of playing into type?
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things where it literally, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like because I'm running a Curse of Strahd game right now, and Strahd is everything you would expect him to be. He is arrogant and vain and just 100% has this big white colonizer energy going, and you play into that because this is the content people come for. Is right. I want to kill this guy.
Right.
Meanwhile, at the same time, the group just got through the Amber Temple and they found that lich and fixed the lich, and now he's basically just being their best friend and a tour guide, and even like gave them a place to stay for the night in the most fabulously goth, magnificent mansion that I had to come up with in the moment that anyone has ever heard of. It was basically like the Haunted Mansion plus a trip to Hot Topic and Spencer Gifts, and it was like Act 1 Beauty and the Beast and like all that stuff, just minus the sentient silverware. But like that's the whole thing, is like that is you see a lich and you think, well, I best get my affairs in order, and this guy's like, oh hi, how are you? Don't worry about it. I just want to read a bunch I don't want to stop reading books ever. So that's why I don't die ever. There's new books. I need them.
Alan?
Yeah, I think I mean it's like if like everyone knows like I like me for one shots because I'm not going that deep for like a character idea or something like that. I'll lean into tropes super heavily. Like it's like I mean like it's a meme and everything, but everyone like it's fun being an edgelord character and knowing like I'm doing this ironically and like it's kind of funny. Like it's super easy to like just like you don't have to think about like what your character can say. It's like, well, just think of the most edgiest thing, or like you just lean into the trope and it's just really easy to that character basically just talks for itself. You know what I mean? So it's like it's super fun to just do that.
Yeah. What I like doing is I like leaning into tropes with the class and then having an unusual race. Like I recently, for those of you who saw the Halloween episode, I had a very dumb barbarian who was a drow, and one of my earliest characters was a very strict, lawful good paladin who was an orc. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do. I think it's fun.
Yeah,
I agree. Tropes are tropes for a reason. That's because they're really fun.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, do you think some D&D classes are more prone to being cliches than others?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Druid definitely is kind of hard to un-cliche.
Yeah, I mean, with the druid, it's hard to not make a hippie that lives in the trees.
I mean, it's
really
just,
not.
Yeah, their character. I mean, the class is so built around nature. Your character has to, in some way, have some relationship with nature in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to like break that archetype of the druid. Rogue is kind of a hard one sometimes. I think there's so many like rogue classes that it's kind of gotten better for rogue. Rogue was kind of one of those ones that's kind of like you have to kind of be like this loner character.
Mm-hmm. I'm an edgy loner that grew up on the streets and no one can possibly understand where I've come from or what I've done with my life and the questionable things that have happened, etc., etc., etc.
Good monologue. The second edgiest character.
Paladin for like older editions where it's like really hard because you couldn't be a different alignment for Paladin in older editions. You had to strictly be lawful good, so you couldn't deviate anywhere in between anything. So I think Paladin is probably the most like the hardest one since 5e because now like there's a lot of different darker variations of Paladin that like there's kind of let it stepped away from that. I have to hold the law and I am lawful stupid and you break the law, I have to break your head. It's kind of like I think it's that one's for sure has been hard to get away from that trope.
Yeah, and then of course there's also always the most classic D&D trope. I am a fighter, and that's it. You just don't make anything more detailed than I fight.
I can use sword. All the weapons.
I'm a walking armory. Wee-hoo!
But I can only use one of them at a time, so I don't know why I have all these weapons.
Isn't dual weapon fighter a thing?
Yes, but I use two. That means I use two of the same weapon. I use two of the same weapon.
Oh my god. Can you take triple weapon fight or have like another sword in your mouth like Zoro?
This be Zoro.
Or like the guy from One Piece.
That's what I
Zoro.
That's what we all said. We're nerds, but we're like on slightly different levels. Like me and Balti, we know the guy's name. Chad, don't know what your problem is.
I never watched One Piece. That's my problem. I just every time I have Netflix open, I keep seeing that they have One Piece now. If I don't pick something fast enough to watch, like, yes, I know you have One Piece. I'm probably not going to get to it. Would you just lay off?
It's trying to get you.
It is. It's trying to get me, and I don't think it's going to succeed.
Cool beans. Okay, so with like the new rules in Tasha's, like with new subclasses and like sort of a reconfiguring of racial stuff, do you think playing unusual or against type races will be more common now that it's better supported mechanically? Does it still count as playing against type if it's in the books?
I mean,
I think it still counts as playing against type because there's always an expectation of this equals this because our brains are wired to just make those logical leaps, like it doesn't take much thinking to realize that, 2 + 2 is in fact 4. But whenever you have something where you can make basically whatever you want with the characters now because of how the how the stats break down and how the backstories break down and all that, and you aren't limited to, well, if I want this to be effective in any way, I guess I have to make them X class or whatever. Then it means that you can still make the tropiest of tropey characters, or you can make something like, I'm going to make the smartest Goliath, or or the sneakiest Goliath. He's 9 feet tall, but somehow, damn it, you just can't see him coming.
Right. And it's like, I mean, it's kind of, you can't, it's yes and no for me, because like, it's sure you can, like, you can always be atypical in anything, but like, it's because it's in the book, like the classes themselves, they're like, there's things that they do, what I mean? Like you can make an atypical rogue, but like at a certain point, if you go too atypical, then your rogue is not a rogue, right? Like you can't, if you don't have like stealth proficiency and stuff like that, or expertise. So like you're a rogue in class, but like, that's not how like that class works in the game. So it's like, it's hard to be too far atypical, because then it's like, well, now you're hindering your class to be atypical, right? So it's like there's a balance to it. You have to be like, you want to be effective with your character, right? Like it's shitty to just play like you're a cleric, but you don't heal ever, like you never heal at all. It's like, sure, that's atypical, but like there's most of the clerics are like spells, or half of the spells are revolved around healing or preventing damage or saving people from dying, like that. You're basically wiping out half your class, what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to be like, you can like, I understand, like you can be like, oh, I'm not going to have as many, like their healing's not a focus on theirs, but like they do like I think like Quinn, he just has like damage naturally into his thing. So it's like, so far, I mean, even though Quinn heals a lot, but Quinn does decent damage. Like he's not like, I don't see Quinn as like the atypical cleric usually, because like when we were fighting those Mandicores, I was like, well, I need to make sure Quinn, Campion is up and Perry, because they're their damage deals right now. They're just like, they're the only ones with range. So I need to make sure those three are up and good.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, as a Tempest cleric, I always come ready to fight.
Yeah.
Because I always have the ability to call lightning and thunder and whatever I feel like, because my deity says it's cool.
Right.
And she is correct.
So
It's
sorry,
dope as hell.
they are correct?
That's true. They are both correct. It's dope as hell to be able to do that.
So yeah, there's a balance to being playing into the trope and being atypical, because especially for D&D, if you want to be effective, there's certain things that your class is supposed to be naturally good at, because that's what their class is good at. So you're differentiating from a different class, because you don't want your fighter to be same as your cleric or same as your warlock. Like why are we playing like different classes? We just play the same class.
Yeah.
So you have to, so you can be, different mold of this, but it's like your character and your bone skeleton to your character like has to be effective in what their class is, right?
Yeah, and I feel like one thing that needs to be brought up, because this is a good example. If you really want to try and do something that's against type, use Dobby as an example, because Dobby, class-wise, was a monk. He was not at all played like a monk. He was played like a rogue, but had nothing roguish.
Just his personality.
He had a roguish
smile.
He had the roguish smile. He did have the roguish personality, but as far as like skills and stuff he needed to do the things he was doing, not so much. So that's a good way to play against type. You think, okay, I'm going to make this fighter, but I'm going to play him like a sorcerer. Don't ask questions.
Quinn, I don't know about that. Isn't Dobby the only one not here with us currently? Should you probably give people that advice?
I mean, like as an example,
tighten up your mechanics a little bit more, but
yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not saying everybody do that thing exactly, but just sort of use that as an example, partially of what not to do, but also partially what you could do.
So if you want to die, model Dobby.
I mean, I gotta say, we're still talking about Dobby multiple weeks after his death.
Oh, I love Dobby. I love Dobby.
Effective in game, sort of. Effective in our hearts, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Never forget.
Yep, definitely.
Rip Dobby. Canoe Dobby. Cool beans. Okay, so that's our time for this week, this lovely Tuesday. It's snowing outside here for the first time this year. It's very exciting for me. And thank you too for joining me so much. Thank you to the audience for tuning in for another one of these, what we're calling them, little variety show hours. Tune in again next week for more of this, and tune in on Friday for more of Roll for Damage. We hit 100 followers.
Oh yeah, that's
amazing.
True.
Thank you. That is such an awesome milestone to hit during this show. I feel very proud. I will take credit for that.
All on Truth's back. All on Truth's back.
On me back. On the back. Yeah, so stick around for links, resources. Thanks to Sunbird and Lane Meows for doing our logo and our theme music. We will see you next week. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.